The ultimatum from the stars. The message came not with a whisper, but with a roar. At 0300 UTC, every satellite, deep space antenna, and orbital relay lit up across Earth and its colonies. The signal overrode every encryption protocol, carried on exotic waveform none of our systems could block. It was undeniable, unavoidable, and devastatingly clear. To the civilization designating itself as humanity, you are to cease all unauthorized stellar expansion. Dismantle your faster-than-light capabilities. Submit your planetary systems to Federation governance. You have 7 Earth days to comply. Non-compliance will result in planetary sterilization. They called themselves the Galactic Federation, a coalition of over 600 alien species bound by ancient treaties, unified under a central doctrine of stability, containment, and control. For 100 millennia, they had shepherded or dominated lesser civilizations, snuffing out those who advanced too quickly. To them, humanity was a fire spreading in a dry forest. In 2 centuries, we'd gone from first orbital flight to 6-star systems, from analog computers to quantum-linked AIs, from war among ourselves to the stars above. We weren't supposed to move this fast. We weren't supposed to build wormhole gates. We weren't supposed to break the Kardashev leash. But we did. Within hours of the message, Earth's major governments convened in emergency session. The United Nations was suspended. In its place rose the Earth Continuity Accord, a coalition of Earth, Luna, Mars, Europa, Titan, and the Lagrange habitats. For once, humanity acted as one. They reviewed the options. A diplomatic envoy? Rejected. Our mere existence at this stage was the insult. A military counterstrike? Laughable. Federation fleets outnumbered ours 50-1, with technology we barely understood. There was no winning a war. But then a voice spoke, Dr. Amina Solari, lead astrophysicist of the Helios Foundation. If they fear our rise, then let's rise. She outlined the unthinkable, a project buried in black-budget theoreticals and post-singularity models, a Dyson Sphere. Not just a power collection system, but a transformation of soul itself into a beacon, weapon, and symbol. A technological feat the Federation had never attempted. Her logic was simple. They demand we stop reaching, so we'll reach farther than anyone ever has. Within a day, the vote was unanimous. Project Helios was activated. Billions watched the broadcast that followed. A transmission sent on every known galactic frequency. It was Earth's first and final response. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. You want us to stop? Then watch what happens when we don't. In the vacuum of space, thousands of drones departed from the Mercury shipyards, their trails glittering like fireflies in the void. The first pieces of humanity's defiance spread into solar orbit. Above the pale blue, a new kind of war had begun, not one of weapons, but of will. And the Federation had no idea what it had just awakened. Project Helios begins. Space became our forge. The day after the Federation's ultimatum, the first wave of autonomous construction vessels launched from the Mercury shipyards. They carried solar-refined metals, adaptive nanostructures, and quantum-linked processors, each drone smarter than a pre-singularity city. Their purpose: begin assembling the Dyson swarm. Phase 1 of Project Helios. Contrary to sci-fi fantasies, humanity wasn't building a solid sphere. That would have been suicidal. Instead, we started with a shell of satellites, energy collectors, laser relays, gravitational lensing nodes. Modular, self-replicating, swarming. Within 72 hours, the first band of solar collectors had formed a shimmering arc around the sun's equator. It was beautiful, like a necklace of firelight on the throat of a god. The Federation sent no reply, but we knew they were watching. Helios wasn't just a statement. It was a revolution of logistics. Supply chains from Mars, Titan, and Earth orbited like clockwork. Quantum AI's coordinated construction with zero lag. Earth's moon was converted into a launch cradle, its ancient gray surface reshaped by fusion tunnels and mass drivers. Even civilians played their part. Volunteers uploaded their minds into construction oversight systems. Artists designed solar sail patterns to reflect humanity's culture across the void. Children on Earth painted suns in classrooms, unaware they were part of something that would change galactic history. And all the while, we broadcast progress reports on the same frequencies the Federation had used to threaten us. Helios Core Segment 02A activated. Solar yield, 3.2%. Time to next expansion ring, 19 hours. Estimated Dyson completion, 37 Earth years. Federation status, still silent. The silence was louder than any weapon. Some of our own feared retribution. What if the Federation attacked before we could finish? What if they saw Helios as a provocation? But those doubts were answered by the one thing even the Federation hadn't accounted for: human resolve. Dr. Solari addressed the world in a message beamed through every feed. We are not building a weapon. We are building a future. This is not rebellion. This is revelation. Meanwhile, deep within the solar system, the Dyson architecture began to link its collectors. Heat stored in ultra-dense capacitors. Microwave relays began firing test beams to Mars, lighting up entire colonies like artificial dawn. The Federation was no longer watching. They were analyzing, dissecting, alarmed. No member of the Federation had ever dared attempt a Dyson structure. Too unstable, too risky, too ambitious. In their long, careful evolution, they had chosen order, balance, but not us. We were chaos wrapped in vision, fire tempered by will. And with every kilometer of superstructure launched into orbit, we told the galaxy one thing: you don't get to choose our limits. Federation strikes. They came in silence, 5 dreadnought-class vessels, flanked by destroyers and escort frigates. No formal declaration, no warning, just gravitational distortions detected near Neptune as the void tore open to deliver judgment. The Federation had spoken, not with words, but with war. From the outer colonies to Earth's defense grid, humanity braced for annihilation. We had known this might come. We had planned for it, not with matched firepower, but with the one weapon no other species dared wield: our star. Mercury's orbit became the front line. Their solar collectors spun like gyroscopes, each equipped not just with energy arrays, but defensive systems never tested in combat. Graviton slings, beam projectors, reflective plasma mirrors. They didn't know. The first destroyer fired, kinetic rods moving at relativistic speeds. Our response wasn't a fleet, it was the sun itself. One Helios array reoriented, a solar flare channeled through a hollow magnetic tube. The beam didn't hit the destroyer. It erased it. Then the war began in earnest. The Federation's ships were sleek, ancient things, elegant in their geometry, terrifying in their precision. Their weaponry shredded several of our defense drones within seconds. A Martian corvette vaporized with all hands. They were used to dominance. But they hadn't fought humans before. A swarm of AI-piloted vessels, birthed from automated factories in orbit around Venus, broke formation and launched a kamikaze strike at the lead dreadnought. Every drone carried a payload of concentrated antimatter, shielded until final proximity. The dreadnought's shields held, until a Helios satellite focused a solar beam into a pinprick behind its shielding. Microseconds of exposure. It was enough. The shields fluctuated. The drones hit. The explosion painted the void in blue flame. Back on Earth, the command chamber at Copernicus Base erupted in stunned cheers. One dreadnought down, but the others pushed forward. 2 began bombarding Helios collectors, carving through them like blades through silk. Segments of the Dyson swarm shattered, solar relays collapsing inward. And still, Project Helios continued. Dr. Solari stood in the operations core, eyes hollow from sleepless days, her voice steady. Let them destroy. We built faster than they believed. We'll rebuild faster still. Then came the moment that turned the war. Array 9A, still under testing, was brought online early. Its purpose was never war. It was an experimental solar condenser, designed to channel the sun's core frequencies through an array of focus lenses. We turned it on. The beam it fired lanced through the Federation flagship, bypassing shields, melting armor, and boring a hole straight through its reactor core. The vessel went nova, a burst of radiation lighting the darkness like a second sun. The remaining Federation ships retreated. Not out of mercy, out of fear. In their command network, a transmission leaked, translated by our AIs. They are not a primitive species. They are a singularity in motion. For the first time in its long, smug history, the Federation had been bloodied by a species that chose to build, even in the face of death. Ascension. The war ended not with a treaty, but with distance. After the battle near Mercury, the Federation withdrew beyond Pluto's orbit. Their remaining ships lingered in silence for days before slipping into fold space and vanishing without a word. No apology, no retaliation, no demands, just absence. And we kept building. Project Helios surged ahead. What had once been a symbolic act of defiance became the framework for a new era. 37% of the Dyson swarm now encircled the sun, harvesting energy, converting it into raw data, transmitting across the system and beyond. We had weaponized potential, but we chose not to strike again. Instead, we broadcast. Humanity's next transmission was not one of threat, but invitation, an open data stream filled with our history, science, art, music, language, and philosophy. We poured our soul into the stars, daring the galaxy to see us not as a threat, but as the next phase in evolution. We are not conquerors. We are not victims. We are the light forged from shadow. And still the Federation said nothing. Not because they refused, because they didn't know how. Their oldest member species, the Thalkren, had once built empires by absorbing fledgling civilizations. But now, faced with a race that turned its star into a tool of peace and power, they faltered. We didn't just survive the ultimatum. We transcended it. On Earth, night skies changed forever. Children looked up and saw the sun framed by golden arcs, Helios segments sparkling like diamonds across space. To many, it was a symbol of hope. To others, a warning. But to us, it was a mirror, a reflection of what humanity could become when fear gave way to vision. On Titan, a child asked her father, "Is the Dyson finished?" He smiled, adjusting her visor as they gazed up at a piece of the swarm reflecting sunlight on his Saturn's rings. "No, little one," he said, "it's only just begun. We didn't build it to survive them. We built it to surpass them." At Copernicus Base, Dr. Solari stood before the completed Helios core. Her voice broadcast across Sol and beyond. "We are the sovereigns of Sol. No throne, no crown. Just a flame that chose to rise instead of bow." In the Federation's Grand Council, they reviewed surveillance data from the conflict. Energy outputs, construction velocity, cognitive evolution rates. One elder whispered a phrase never before spoken in that chamber. Perhaps we are no longer alone at the top. They had meant to cow us into submission. Instead, they witnessed the birth of something new. Not an empire, but a civilization unshackled from fear. We never wanted war. We never asked for a fight. But when threatened, we answered not with surrender, but with a star.